My name's Todd Lanning. I'm the assistant manager at Henry's Fork Anglers. Been working with the Lawsons for a lot of years, over 10 years anyway. So today we're going to talk about the cocktail nymph, which is a kind of a knockoff of the pheasant tail nymph. The pheasant tail nymph's been around for a long time. If I could only have one nymph in my fly box, it would be the pheasant tail nymph. I think it's been around since 1920, developed by a river keeper in England on the River Avon, and it mimics just about any mayfly nymph that you can find out here. This pattern is going to be effective not only in all of our area water, but most likely if you have a trout stream at home, you're going to be able, if you can tie this or fish it, you're going to have success with it. One thing with the cocktail nymph, kind of what we're going to do today, is a lot of the pheasant tails you see in the bins at fly shops are over tied. I think they're bulky, and with the cocktail nymph, we're going to make it more sparse. It's going to be a sparse little mayfly nymph. This fly is continuing on with our fly of the month that we're doing every month, and we're once again focusing on the Deadly Dozen in Mike Lawson's The Fly Fishing Guide to the Henry's Fork. So this is a great book. This is going to tell you a lot of the successful patterns too. They're not only just going to work here and on all of our area waters. We've found though that these 12 are in fact deadly on all of our area water here, from the Teton to the Madison to Yellowstone Park, the South Fork, and the Henry's Fork. So with that, we'll get started. All right, so today we are tying the cocktail nymph. And like I explained earlier, I like the cocktail nymph because I like how sparsely it's tied. You can tie this fly in a bunch of different colors. You can get dyed pheasant in different colors, in reds, greens, yellows, purple I've seen. And this is a really easy fly to tie too. As a matter of fact, I think this is probably one of the very first flies that I ever learned how to tie. So we're just going to start with some black thread here. You can use different colored thread too. You can use, I've seen them in yellow, I've seen brown, black of course is always a good solid bet. Red, I've even seen some of them finish with a real bright orange, almost a fire orange color. So we're going to tie in a piece of copper wire right now, and with this is a number. I usually tie these, if I had one size that I had to tie them in all the time, it'd be a number 16, but you can tie them in 12s. You could probably even go as big as a 10 if you wanted to, all the way down to an 18 or 20s too. I mean, you can really tie them as small as you want. But this is such a great versatile fly to have in your box. As a matter of fact, I think it's a must-have. I would not want to be anywhere without some pheasant tails. You can tie them with beads, without beads. It's just such a great versatile pattern to have in your arsenal. So we're going to tie this copper on the top of the hook, and then you're just going to pick some. We're going to start with his tail. So like we're just going to do about a third, I would say, of the hook shank. And with that, first, when you're tying this material in, you can just do one loose wrap right at the bend of the hook, and then you can kind of just eyeball it, and with that loose wrap you can kind of adjust that material to where you want it. I think that's about right there. Then go ahead and cinch it down. Then with the remainder of the material here, just bring it back and tie it right in. And then work your thread up to the front of the fly, up to the eye. Okay, now it's a simple thing to do. We're just going to wrap this material forward on the, we're going to try to keep it relatively even as we work our way up the shank of the hook. And probably the smart way to do this would be with a pair of hackle pliers. But it's real easy too, especially with this. This is a number 14 hook I'm doing, so it's real easy to just work it up with your with your fingers. But hackle pliers come in super handy. We're just going to tie our material in now. Now we're going to rib this fly. This pheasant tail is relatively delicate, and so if you don't wrap it with this wire here, this fly is going to be a 1 or 2 fish fly. It doesn't take them long to chew it up. And I like to go the opposite way of the way that I wrapped the pheasant tail in to begin with. So if you go clockwise, then with your wire, wrap it counterclockwise. Just try to keep it nice and even. We'll cut that tag end out of there. And then just tie it in. That rib's gonna do a couple different things. It's gonna give a little bit of reflection, and it's gonna really help with the durability of this fly. Okay. Now we're going to tie in the shell. The wing case basically is what we're going to do next. So again, grab some materials. And this time, with the tail, I probably only did 3 or 4 strands of pheasant. With this shell here, though, with this wing case, you can grab probably 8 to 10 of them. And I like to tie it in tips first. There's a couple different things you can do too here. If you measure this out correctly to where it's only about a quarter of the hook shank, these tips right here will also work as legs for you if you want to go that route. Try to keep that material on the top of the hook shank. Tie it in, and again, remember, we're trying to keep this as sparse as we can. A lot of flies that you see in the fly shop bins are just over tied. They're super bulky, and if you look at mayfly nymphs, if you roll over rocks when you're fishing, you'll notice that there's not a lot of nymphs that are big and bulky like that, especially for mayfly nymphs. They're all pretty streamlined and sparse. So that's just, I can't say that enough. Keep this fly as sparse as you can to be more realistic. And again, you can tie it with or without a bead, depending on how you want to fish it. I wouldn't be afraid to swing this pattern. It's a real versatile fly. You can do a lot of different things with it. Okay, so now we're going to pick out 2 or 3 strands of peacock herl, and we're just going to tie that in. Just like that. This is another real delicate material. It's easy to break it. It gets brittle, so it might be something that you have to. What I like to do with it is I tie it in. Again, probably should have some hackle pliers, but don't be afraid to put a little bit of a twist on it, and then work that forward. Now you don't want to crowd the head of your fly too much, so keep those legs up on top like they are, and you can also just trim those out if you want to. So we're going to do 2 or 3 wraps, and then I like to wrap my thread through this peacock just to keep it, I think it gives it a little bit of a reinforcement. Cut that off, being careful not to cut your thread. And now we're going to bring this wing material for the wing case over the top. I'm going to do one little twist here, and at this point I'll cut off this tag end, and I can take these legs now and just push them back, try to split them up a little bit, try to just go half one side, half to the other side, push them back, and then tie them in. And that's it. That is a simple cocktail nymph. And I mean, it's just a knockoff of a pheasant tail basically, but what you'll notice is that it's a lot more, it's really sparsely tied. So you got the legs there. It's a great versatile pattern. You're going to be able to do just about, you're going to be able to mimic just about any mayfly nymph that's out there with this pattern. And you can also too, if you want to, don't hesitate to take your head cement and paint that wing case right there. It'll add to the durability, and it'll also put a little bit of a shine on it. So with that, that's the pheasant tail nymph.